They told a one-legged electrician from Durban she could touch Olympic steel only after surviving 9 brutal months on a swaying shipping container roof. Qamar Ndlovu climbed that rust-red box at dawn while gulls circled above diesel fog and dock chains snapped like hard metal rain. Her right pant leg was pinned clean at the thigh, but nothing about her movement looked unfinished once her shoulders squared. The training hall was barely a hall at all, just corrugated walls, hanging cables, and one stable dream balanced above a working yard. Every gust rolled through the container roof and shifted her stance, forcing her body to relearn balance with every single breath. The committee called it a test of durability, but it looked more like an invitation to quit before she embarrassed them. By day, she fixed rink lights and dead wiring with scarred hands, then carried those same tools into the shipyard after sunset. Her first enemy was not another fencer, but sweat pooling inside her prosthetic socket until each lunge felt like stepping on glass. Her second enemy was rhythm, because fencing rewards exact timing and the roof pitched beneath her like a restless wave. Her third enemy was loneliness, because no polished national center waited for her, only crane shadows sweeping long black arcs across steel. So Qamar turned those shadows into opponents, tracking their swing and thrusting into darkness until reflex replaced hesitation. When the crane slept, she launched practice drones from spare parts, programming them to dart, hover, and punish every lazy recovery. She tied strips of reflective tape to the drones and trained under floodlights until silver streaks cut the night like angry fish. Every metallic clatter from dock chains became her metronome, teaching her feet and blade to answer chaos with exact, repeatable tempo. She learned to lunge on the downsway, recover on the upsway, and steal stability from motion instead of begging stillness. Most athletes protect perfect conditions, but Qamar trained inside disruption until disruption itself started working for her. The committee demanded she prove control before testing the newest carbon blade, a weapon lighter, faster, and cruel to sloppy mechanics. Carbon did not forgive overreach, and overreach had followed Qamar ever since the amputation that split her old life in half. Before fencing, she traced broken circuits in a roller rink, skating between neon reflections and the smell of hot dust. Then came the accident, a burst of mangled metal and hospital white, leaving silence where movement used to live without permission. Recovery did not arrive as one heroic montage, but as a pile of ugly mornings where even standing required negotiation. She hated how strangers stared at her missing leg first and her face second, as if loss were her loudest achievement. So she began building, because building returned power to her hands before it returned peace to her mind. In a rented room near the beach, she spread bicycle spokes, buoy clamps, beach wax, screws, and rubber seals across a towel. She studied where sweat corroded joints, where pressure burned skin, and where a split second of lag destroyed balance. Then she engineered a sweat-proof prosthetic knee that flexed clean under pressure and locked fast when the roof shifted beneath her. Beach wax sealed seams against salt and moisture, bicycle spokes gave resilient tension, and buoy clamps held steady when cheaper metal failed. It looked improvised to outsiders, but every ugly edge carried hours of testing, bruising, and refusal sharpened into hardware. Each night, she climbed the container ladder, carrying mask, blade, toolkit, and one body she had personally redesigned to keep going. Some nights, rain slicked the steel until each step glowed dangerous under floodlights, and still she trained without asking weather for mercy. Some nights, the drones crashed into stacked crates, and she rebuilt them before dawn with solder burns fresh on her fingers. Some nights, the prosthetic pinched raw skin, and she marked the pressure points with a grease pencil for morning revisions. She treated each failure like a mechanic treats an engine rattle, not as doom, but as information begging for diagnosis. That mindset changed everything, because shame wastes energy while curiosity turns pain into a blueprint for improvement. If your life feels unstable, start there, because Qamar's breakthrough began when she stopped cursing the sway and started measuring it. She counted how many chain strikes landed each minute, then matched her breath to the pattern until panic lost its grip. She filmed her drills on a cracked phone, slowing the footage to study where her hip dipped and where fear shortened reach. She kept a notebook stained with oil and sea air, listing one problem, one test, and one adjustment every day. That is how impossible goals shrink, not through motivation alone, but through relentless experiments small enough to repeat tomorrow. By the fourth month, the crane shadows no longer haunted her. They became moving geometry she could read before motion fully unfolded. By the sixth month, her homemade knee absorbed the roof's shift so smoothly that her upper body stayed calm while chaos rippled below. By the eighth month, the drones were too slow for her eyes, and she started narrowing their margins to punish hesitation harder. Word spread through the docks about the woman dueling machines on a roof, moving like a fuse, racing toward powder. When committee testers finally arrived, polished shoes slipping on salt grime, they expected determination and found precision sharpened by hostile conditions. Qamar stood under a white sky with her mask tucked beneath one arm and looked less like a petition than a warning. They handed her the newest carbon blade, thin as a promise and dark as stormwater, expecting a cautious trial. Instead, she stepped onto the container roof and let the dock chains set her timing the way church bells set old cities. The blade flashed in clean arcs, each thrust landing on taped targets while the roof swayed and the wind shoved sideways. Her recoveries were tighter than theirs, her balance calmer than the men taking notes below, her movements frighteningly economical. She had trained so long inside bad conditions that good equipment felt almost unfair. The carbon blade did not tame her. It simply revealed the speed she had already built in secret. At the games, cameras searched her body for tragedy, but audiences kept getting distracted by velocity. She entered the strip not looking like a miracle polished for headlines, but like a lightning bolt someone forgot to label. Opponents read her prosthetic first and her tempo second, and that tiny ordering mistake cost them precious fractions of a second. Her attacks came off beat, shaped by chains, wind, and years of adapting on moving steel no textbook could imitate. Each touch she scored carried Durban's salt, shipyard rust, and every midnight repair stitched invisibly into the moment. When she advanced, kids with braces, cast scars, and private embarrassments sat up straighter in living rooms around the world. They were not seeing perfection. They were watching evidence that a body can become brilliant even after being rewritten. Success changed more than her ranking, because engineers called about adaptive sports design and coaches started rethinking what practice should include. Committees that once guarded access began funding rougher, more creative training models built around problem solving instead of polished facilities alone. Qamar's real victory was not proving she belonged in elite sport, but exposing how narrow everyone else's imagination had been. Her story leaves practical fingerprints. Use what your environment gives you, track flaws without self-pity, and build systems that survive stress. If the floor in your life keeps swaying, do not wait for perfect ground before you start training your balance. Turn noise into rhythm, turn setbacks into data, and turn the parts people dismiss into tools no one else knows how to use. That is how a roller rink electrician from Durban stepped onto the Olympic strip and made limitation look embarrassingly small.